Chronic dieting and restrictive ways of eating not only are not fun, but they can also promote an unhealthy relationship to food, including constantly thinking about what you're supposed to be eating or feeling bad after indulging in some less nutritious foods. But it does not have to be this way. And that's where intuitive eating comes in. While it's not a diet, eating intuitively also does not mean just stuffing your face with whatever you want all the time, but instead it's about relearning to listen to your body's cues. And with that, not only gain food freedom, but also, as more and more research is starting to show, to be happier and to lose weight more effortlessly, and especially to keep it off, escaping the endless circle of yo-yo dieting. Hello and welcome. If you're new here, I'm Hannah. I'm also a health coach with a certification in nutrition. And in this video, we're gonna talk about everything intuitive eating, what it actually is, how to do it right without stuffing your face with pizza and cake all the time, how to maintain or lose weight without tracking a single calorie, and how to make sure you get enough protein even when you're not tracking. So what even is intuitive eating? Intuitive eating is an approach to eating that focuses on being in tune with your body's cues related to hunger and fullness, but also satisfaction, without listening to any diet culture rules. And it was invented by two dietitians named Evelyn Chaboll and Elise Resch, and it consists of 10 key principles. First, reject the diet mentality, meaning stop listening to some weird diet rules you hear on social media or you read on, the Cosmopolitan, and stop restricting yourself from eating certain foods or from eating enough foods. Which leads me to principle number 2, honoring your hunger, which is basically what it says. Eat when you're hungry, don't when you're not. Number 3 is making peace with food, meaning get rid of that guilt that comes with eating food just for joy. Well, yes, food is mainly there to nourish our body, to keep us alive and functioning and healthy. Food is also a part of the joy part of life, not only the functioning part. So even though biologically there is healthy and less healthy food, there is no good and bad food. Instead, a better way to think about these foods is as everyday foods and sometimes foods. So you're not restricting anything, you're just focusing on certain foods more than on others. And through that, you're not restricting anything. And through that, you're avoiding getting caught in a very, very, very common restriction binge cycle, where you restrict something and then when you can have it, or when you don't have any control over yourself at the moment, you just have as much as you want of it because you can't stop. And then you feel bad after that, so you restrict even more, whether it's about a certain type of food or amounts of foods. Number 4 is challenge the food police, which is basically saying to shutting down that inner voice in your head that keeps on creeping in when you eat something more indulgent than functional and making you feel guilty for eating it. Number 5 is discovering the satisfaction factor, which basically means not only to honor your hunger, but also honor your cravings. So if you feel like a bowl of Ben & Jerry's, have that bowl of Ben & Jerry's, and do not first try to have an apple and then a date and then a piece of dark chocolate until you just end up eating the Ben & Jerry's anyways. So instead, just eat what you feel like and enjoy it while you're eating it. And then afterwards, feel that feeling of satisfaction and be happy that you listened to your body's cues. Speaking of being happy, a tool that will make you happier getting work done is Opera Air, who is very kindly sponsoring today's video. Opera Air is a browser like no other because it is the mindful browser that has a lot of cool features, including this mindful breaks feature, which first reminds you to regularly take a short break, and second, it offers a variety of such guided breaks, including short breathing exercises, various meditations and body scans, or neck stretches to relax your neck and shoulders from your laptop posture. And next to reminding you to take regular and actually recharging breaks, Opera Air also has this boost feature where you can turn on binaural beats, lo-fi music, and background sounds to enhance either focus, creativity, or relaxation. I really recommend you to try it out for yourself. You can download it using the link in my description. Number 6 is feeling your fullness. So not only feeling your hunger, but obviously also feeling your fullness is very important. Still, many of us struggle with that because we are so in our head and thinking about restriction that we've lost connection to our fullness cues. And we're stressed all the time, or we're in a rush, or we haven't eaten all day, so we're just so starving that we just keep on eating and we don't even give our body enough time to realize, to signal to our brain that we're already full. And the best things you can do to regain that ability to feel your fullness is first to try to eat slower because your body's fullness signals needs about 20 to 30 minutes to arrive to your brain. So if you finish your meal in 10 minutes, of course you're still hungry, or you feel hungry even though you're not. And also try to stop eating before you're 100% full. If you feel 80-90% full, you will feel full enough about 20 minutes later. Number 7, cope with your emotions with kindness. So many of us, at least at some point, probably everybody, has experienced emotional eating. And that emotion can be anything. That can be loneliness, boredom, stress, anxiety, whatever it is. Sometimes we feel like we can drown our emotions with food, and maybe sometimes it does help for a minute, but food does not address the root cause. So instead, it helps to be mindful of why we might be eating now if it's not out of real hunger, but emotional hunger. And then face that emotion. Or maybe sometimes, because we cannot always face our emotions all day long, distract ourselves with something else than eating. For example, taking a walk, calling someone if you're lonely, or even just watching a favorite TV show if you don't have anyone to call right now, or are really not feeling sociable but are still feeling lonely. Number 8, respect your body. It is so easy to harm your self-worth by thinking that your body is not perfect enough, especially of course with social media, because we see all those perfect people on our algorithm. First of all, in real life, they might look different. It's not a real representation of reality. And second, it does not matter how your body looks like. Are you aware of what incredible things your body is doing just to keep you alive every day? When you think about what a little wonder your body is, what an incredible machine, soft machine, it should be a lot easier to appreciate your body for what it's doing. And that doesn't mean, in my opinion, that you just have to live with whatever cards you've been given. You can always try to improve, but try to do it from a loving point and not from a low self-esteem point of view, starting point. Not only, but also, if you try to improve your body from a loving perspective, it also makes it a lot easier to just want to eat healthy, because you want to nourish your body with good foods. And sometimes that also includes junk food, because your soul also needs, a little bit of enjoyment sometimes. But in the end, you want to do what's good for you and for your body that does such incredible things for you. Number 9, movement. While intuitive eating is not about exercising, especially not forcing yourself to exercise just in order to burn calories or build muscles, but instead, exercise in this sense is nourishing your body and soul as well, because it's one of the best things you can do for your mental and physical health. But again, from a loving and kind perspective. Number 10, honor your health. Again, it's about trying to care for your body for your health, not for your looks or anything. And by doing that, if you care for your health, it's again so much easier to give your body what it needs, whether that's about eating or moving or your lifestyle habits. And when you focus on your health, you will probably sooner or later realize that it's not about every single thing that you do, but it's a compound effect of every little thing that you do. Which also means, though, that if you sometimes indulge in less nutritious foods, it's not going to do anything bad for you. You're just going to be happier, probably a little bit more. You won't have the negative effects of restriction, but still, overall, you're going to be healthy, because overall, your lifestyle is healthy. Okay, so now this sounds all nice and sweet, but how do you actually put it into practice? Because what if you just honor your cravings and your cravings are cake and pizza and burger all day long? Well, first of all, that is part of those key principles, is that intuitive eating is about caring for your body. And when you care for your body from a, loving perspective, you don't want to stuff it with junk all the time, because it will make you feel bad. You can try it if you want to. Have whatever you feel like for a couple of days. You will most probably feel like shit. And that is not the idea behind intuitive eating. It's about caring for your body and your soul. Now, this can be a bit tricky, to be honest, especially after you've been restricting or maybe even tracking for a long time, because then you've been in that restriction for a long time. So now if you open the gates, you will probably eat a lot of junk food for a while and probably eat a lot more than your body needs. But sooner or later, your body will realize that, now I can have everything I want whenever I want. So maybe let's just have the good stuff, because it's actually making me feel better. In general, if that sounds scary, I do recommend to just open the gates, to really get rid of all food rules, because then that's how our psychology just works. Your mind will just crave the bad things less, because there won't be any bad things. But if you struggle with that idea, or after, or in general, something that is the best, one of the best rules for everything is the 80-20 rule. If you eat healthy for 80% of the time and indulge in whatever you feel like for 20% of the time, your health will be more or less the same than if you would be eating healthy 100% of the time. If not healthier, because now also your mental health is well, because you allow yourself to enjoy things. And this is not just something I came up with. This is based on Pareto's principle, who says that 80% of the outcome comes from only 20% of the input. This is a little bit different in the logic here, but it's basically the same thing. It basically just means that focus on what's really important and don't stress out if it's not perfect, because it doesn't have to be, especially when it comes to food. Now, this 80-20 rule is not an official part of intuitive eating, but I think it's a good, on top sprinkling of intuitive eating. If you feel too insecure, too not enough in control, if you just trust your intuition, especially in the beginning. Probably at some point your intuition will just be about 80-20, because that's healthy. Another tool that I find really helpful is urge surfing, which is basically that if you are feeling like eating something not so nutritious, or eating a lot, or eating at all, is to, for a second, just check in with yourself, whether you're actually hungry, physically hungry or not. If you are, eat. If you're not, think about what makes you want to eat at that moment, and either surf the urge. That especially applies if you're feeling like eating junk food, but also if you're feeling like eating even though you're not hungry, and try to analyze what you're feeling at that moment. Are you maybe feeling lonely or bored or stressed? But next to emotions, something else that can influence what kind of food we're feeling like can be deficiencies, either in micronutrients or macronutrients or calories in general. For example, if you're craving chocolate or bananas or almonds a lot, maybe you're magnesium deficient. So maybe get that checked out. Or if you're feeling like a burger, like a good juicy beef burger, maybe you're craving beef, and that might be a sign that you're low in iron. Or for example, if you're craving simple carbs like white bread and pasta, you might not be eating enough carbs or not enough calories in general, because simple carbs are very calorie dense. So that might be a sign that you just need to eat more and or more carbs. Next to our emotions or certain deficiencies, something that can also impact what we're craving, especially if we're craving junk food that is very fatty and sweet and carb rich, can be sleep deprivation. Because if we're sleep deprived or haven't been sleeping well enough, our body is lacking energy that it would have gotten from a good night's sleep, and it tries to get that energy from energy rich foods, aka foods that are high in carbs and high in fats, and in general very calorie dense. Speaking of calories, you've probably heard by now that in order to lose weight, you need to be in a caloric deficit. So how the heck do you do this if you're eating intuitively? Well, there are some tools that are very helpful here. Something that the Japanese swear on is something called hara hachibu, which is basically eating until you're 80% full. So you're not hungry anymore, but you're also not full. But sometimes it can be hard to know when you're about to be full, or to, stop eating when you're getting close. And what helps with that is first, again, eating slowly, because that helps your fullness signals to get to your brain. It also helps to feel more satiated because you have more time enjoying the foods that you're eating. And it helps to focus on whole foods without any restrictions. This is just about the focus on whole foods, because whole foods tend to be more rich in things like fiber, and foods rich in fiber help you to get full and to stay full for longer, so that you are just fuller and need less food. Next to fiber, something that you really need to get enough of to feel satisfied and to stay full is enough healthy fats and enough protein. You've heard that one before, I bet. But how the heck are you supposed to know if you're eating enough protein and fats if you're not tracking anything? As with calories, macronutrients such as protein and fats is not an exact math, and even if everyone and their almond mom, including me, keep saying that you need to eat at least 2 grams of protein per kilo of body weight or otherwise, no, it's not that exact. The winning strategy here, if you don't want to track, is guesstimating, which is something you can practice. Even if now you think, I don't even know how 100 grams of protein look like, you can learn that. That's what I'm doing today. I don't track anything anymore. I estimate my fats and my protein because I know how important it is to get enough healthy fats and protein, but I don't track a single thing. This becomes a lot easier if you eat similar foods regularly. So for example, I love obviously chicken breast, and now I know how much protein is in my chicken breast, more or less. A single gram or 5 grams more or less won't make a big difference. If you've been tracking before, you should probably have a good idea about how many proteins and fats are in certain types of foods. If you don't or need a little refreshment, I'll put a link in my description for a little cheat sheet with the most common protein and fat sources and how much of each macronutrient is in those sources, more or less, so that you can get better at guesstimating. Why do I say only protein and fats, even though I also said that carbs are really important? Well, if you need enough proteins and fats, you can fill up the rest of your hunger that you will be able to feel soon with carbs. Preferably complex carbs if you're trying to lose weight, and also if not, because fiber, aka complex carbs, it's not exactly the same thing, but there's a lot of fiber in complex carbs. It's very important for your gut health, but also it's very helpful if you're trying to eat a little less, because again, fiber / complex carbs makes you fuller, faster, and for longer. Now, as I mentioned before, intuitive eating is a lot harder if you're stressed out a lot, because then your cortisol levels are too high. But there are certain things that you can do to balance your cortisol levels out, and I made a whole video about that, so make sure to check that out. And let me know in the comments how your intuitive eating journey is going, and if you have any tips to share, any culprits. Remember, most often than not, our body is a lot smarter than our conscious mind. Thank you for watching, and take care.